Season 2 Reloaded, the mid-season update, whatever you want to call it, brought along some changes and additions to Warzone and Cold War, and some of those changes, both being mentioned in the patch notes and not so much, were weapon adjustments. So how does that affect the meta of play within Warzone? Today I want to run down what I think is the top 5 loadouts within Warzone as of right now. As we go along, feel free to let me know your thoughts down below. Do you agree with this list? Maybe disagree? Would you add something here and take something out? Whatever it is, feel free to let me know. As well, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing. We're getting all things Warzone, Cold War, and anything COD related. We're on that road to 400,000 subscribers, and we'll keep the day with absolutely everything you need to know. And finally, my good friends over at G Fuel ended up bumping up code Espresso to 30% off. So if you guys want to check out G Fuel for the first time, maybe get a restock, whatever it may be, check out the link in the description below and use code Espresso. That said, let's talk about these top 5 loadouts within Warzone. So while there's a lot of familiar faces in this list after the update, there's a handful of adjustments that may seem minor but may make a world of a difference. For number 1 here up on this, I want to talk about, of course, the still undisputed king, I think, in terms of loadouts, but it's something you may not be too keen on if you're an ammo hoarder like I normally am, but it's definitely worthwhile. That being the FFAR and AUG combo. Now, this is absolutely a disgusting combination still. The nerf to the AUG was minimal, and it's still absurdly good. The FFAR, well, wasn't really touched according to the patch notes, though, despite there being a few stealth changes to it. But that comes down to your attachments. So close range, let's talk about the FFAR firstly. The FFAR, I'd highly recommend the Agency Suppressor, Ranger Barrel, Raider Stock, SFOD Speed Grip, and the 50 round mag. Now, this is maybe something that differs depending on who you ask. Me personally, I use the FFAR primarily as almost an SMG, that close quarters play. So what I want to maximize is that bullet velocity, but also the strafe speed that comes along with that. That can normally be done with the Task Force barrel to add strafe speed, but whenever you take a look at the SFOD speed grip, that helps compensate in some of that movement, but also, though, the Ranger has the best bullet velocity out of any of the attachments for barrels with the FFARs. So when you consider something like that, plus the Agency Suppressor, you're maximizing that bullet velocity as much as possible. Plus then, of course, also adding in with the other attachments of the Raider Stock, which increases your aiming, walking, movement speed, ADS, firing move speed, and sprint to fire time. You're really just kitting this out for a more close quarters mobile weapon. Then also that 50 round mag, you definitely want to change that if you had the 50 round speed mag beforehand, because they did adjust the ADS times, to which now it actually is a proper penalty if you end up using that. Duel that with, again, the AUG, which is incredible from medium to even long range, with the Agency Silencer, Strike Team Barrel, Field Agent Foregrip, 45 round drum mag, and the Axial Arms 3x optic. And you got a killer loadout. Now, for this, I definitely think with some of these attachment adjustments, it does knock it down a slight peg, but it's not anything that really buries the weapon combo in the ground. I definitely think this is still the best loadout by far. For this, I'd normally also pair it with like EOD, obviously Overkill, Amped, a Lethal of a Semtex, and a Stun Grenade as a tactical, but it's still absurdly good. So that's my number 1 here at this. Number 2, I always like to come back and visit this one because I love this loadout still a ton. That being the CR56 AMAX with the MAC-10. The CR56 AMAX, though, we run the Monolithic Suppressor, the Zodiac Barrel, the Commando Foregrip, the 45 round mag, and the VLK 3x optic. And this one hasn't really changed at all since our last discussion about it, but what has is just, again, if you're looking for something that is consistent and something that may actually still pack a punch if you don't want to use the FFAR and AUG. Obviously, the time for weapon tuning in Modern Warfare is kind of done because those have been balanced so many times that now with other weapons taking its place as the dominant weapons, you might not see too much change here with it, but it is still, I'd say, probably a solid second or third best weapon in the game. The MAC-10, though, covering close quarters here because you're using the CR56 AMAX for medium to maybe even long range if it mounts up. The MAC-10, though, I'd run the Agency Suppressor, the Task Force Barrel, the Field Agent Foregrip, the 53 round drum mag, and the SAS Combat Stock. Now, the barrels may be something you differ on here a little bit. The Task Force, though, for me, I really enjoy just because it gives that effective damage range, bullet velocity, and strafe speed. The 53 round drum mag, though, make sure you have this equipped and not the stick mag because you end up, again, getting that larger ADS penalty. But then the SAS Combat Stock also is something that may be preference. I like it because the Raider pad is quite fast, but with the SAS Combat Stock, you still get some very good bonuses, but also it feels, I think, a little bit more controllable. The only thing that I kind of go back and forth with wanting in the Raider stock is that sprint to fire time, because there is an open bolt delay, so there will be that slight delay when you pull the trigger and when actually firing. But other than that, it is an incredible loadout still. Again, this is another one for those rushers out there. The next loadout I want to talk about kind of is similar to that first one of the AUG FFAR, but instead is the AUG's little brother, the M16, something that hasn't been touched in the patch notes, but is still incredibly good in its own right and can do the same thing for the most part. Whenever you take a look at it, if you take one weapon and nerf it of the two, the other one's just going to reign supreme. So this one got a little bit more attention here because there was that slight nerf to the AUG, though still, again, nothing too tremendous. But for the M16, I'd run the Agency Silencer, the Task Force Barrel, the Field Agent Foregrip, the 45 round mag, and the Axial Arms 3 times. Again, this kind of trying to replicate here what we end up having with the AUG and giving that same power and abilities that it affords. And for the most part, it does the job almost exactly the same. The only thing that you'll really probably notice is that of the fire rate. With the Task Force on the AUG, you end up getting some slight adjustments to that fire rate, making it a little bit faster, whereas the Task Force on the M16 does not. But overall, it still packs quite a punch. For the FFAR, though, again, copy paste that because it's what I use here with this when dueling with it, of the Agency Suppressor, the Ranger Barrel, the Raider Pad Stock, the 50 round mag, and the SFOD Speed Grip, or the Field Agent Foregrip, but I prefer the SFOD. And as with all the other builds here that we've talked about and will talk about, EOD, Overkill Naturally, Amped, a Semtex, and a Stun Grenade. Now, as for those are more of my main rushing classes that I'd like to get aggressive with, play a little more kill hungry than that, but if my team is doing that and I can see, well, I'm really just fighting with them for kills, I'll bust out a sniper rifle, to which the next two classes I think are still very good here at that. The number one being the FFAR Kar98k duo. Again, that FFAR, the same build that we've talked about here, the Agency, the Ranger, the Raider Stock, the SFOD Speed Grip, and the 50 round mag. But as for the Kar98k itself, that's where we come down to the Monolith Suppressor, the SynGuard Custom 27.6 inch barrel, the TAC Laser, the Sniper Scope, and Sleight of Hand, or if I don't really care too much about the reload, I'll end up putting on the Stippled Grip Tape or the FTAC Sport Stock. Now, for that, I'm primarily, whenever I double up on that, trying to max out the ADS speed, making it something that I can get the gun up as fast as possible. But for the other things like this, with the SynGuard Customs barrel, that gives us damage range, bullet velocity, and recoil control. And your things like your TAC Laser, your stock, and then as well your grips, playing into getting that gun up so you can take advantage of that. The Sniper Scope, obviously you want that for longer distances. You're playing this for a long range game and as a marksman. So this is definitely one that I think is phenomenal and probably still to this day one of my favorite sniping classes. The Tundra has moved in there kind of close, as we talked about a couple of weeks ago here on the channel, but the Kar98k still definitely reigns supreme. And then finally, that last class we'll talk about is that of another Kar98k build, in which it's the same thing: Monolithic Suppressor, SynGuard Custom 27.6 inch barrel, TAC Laser, Sniper Scope, Sleight of Hand, or another attachment that speeds up your ADS speed, but this time mixed with the MAC-10. Again, coming back to a build we've already talked about, in which we end up having the Agency Suppressor, Task Force Barrel, SAS Combat Stock, Field Agent Grip, and the 53 round drum mag. This playing for ultra close quarters, so you won't be able to challenge stuff as mid-range as, say, an FFAR would be able to. So you're playing with this one, the two extremes here. You're either up in the face of your enemy or you're picking them off from across a field. And there's really nothing wrong with that. It just comes down to which is your preference. But that to me is the top 5 loadouts still after this update here, and can give you the best chance to get as many kills as possible. Now, there's one that's been creeping up here that I'm definitely going to be curious about. We might have a video on it in the next couple of days here, but keep an eye out for the dual magnums from Cold War with a brand new tight snub barrel. Just keep an eye on that one because it's kind of wild. So we might have a video talking about that a little further here in the next couple of days, but just be conscious of that. But for right now, that's the top 5 loadouts right now. So as we go along, let me know your thoughts down below. Do you guys agree with this list here? Do you think that there's something that should be added to this? Or how do you feel about these current metas and these builds and as they stand right now? Let me know your thoughts, but hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to drop a like down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so with a single thing running all things Warzone, Cold War, and anything COD related. We'll keep you up to date with absolutely everything. If you also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, those are the best places to get content outside of YouTube. I live on both those. If you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. That said, thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.